Hello, IM students. Welcome to more practice and notes on solving one-step equations. My goal was to help you really solidify how to solve one-step equations so you can master it and move on to two-step equations. So, let's look at 4 different examples. I'm going to start with example number 1. I'm looking at x plus 4 equals 3. Now I know in your head you might be able to do this, but I want you to get used to the steps because when we start to move on to two-step equations and more step equations, it's going to be very important that we know all the steps first. So the goal, which I highlighted here, is to get the variable by itself. That is our goal. We want to get the variable to all on one side and have nothing else there. And in this case, the variable is represented by x. Well, to get x by itself, you must get rid of the 4. The 4 is being added to the x. To get rid of the 4, you must do the inverse or opposite of what is already being done. So the inverse of addition is subtraction. So, I have to get rid of this plus 4 by doing the opposite. And I know the opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. And now I have to make sure I do this to both sides. Well, I know that a positive 4 and a negative 4 cancel each other out to be 0. Which is what I want because now I have x by itself. And I know that 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And if you forget how I did that, remember I have 3 minus 4. Remember when we're doing subtraction, we can do keep, change. So I keep this the same. I change the minus to a plus, and then I change the positive 4 to a negative 4. And then if the signs are different, which they are, I have a positive 3 and a negative 4, then I subtract 4 from 3 to get 1, and I keep the sign of the larger number, which is a negative. So in this case, x equals negative 1. Let's look at example number 2. It gives us w minus 6 equals 8. Well, my goal again is to get the variable w by itself. That is my ultimate goal for whenever I'm solving any equation, is to get the variable, which in this case is w, by itself. And to get the w by itself, we must get rid of this negative 6, this minus 6, excuse me. The 6 right now is being subtracted from w. To get rid of the 6, you must do the inverse operation, or the opposite of what is already being done. And we know that the inverse operation of subtraction is addition. So, w minus 6, I'm going to go ahead and draw my line to separate my equal sign, equals 8. In order to get rid of this minus 6, I have to do the inverse operation, which means the opposite of what minus 6 is. And the opposite of minus 6 is plus 6. And I have to make sure I do that to both sides. That is the key. Well, I know that negative 6 or minus 6 plus 6 cancels out to be 0. And 8 plus 6 gives me 14. Now all I have left is w by itself, which was my goal. And I have w equals 14, which is my answer. Let's look at example number 3. Again, the goal is to get the variable by itself. And in this case, we have 4y equals 12, and y is our variable. Well, when I have that 4 and this y together, what it is really saying is 4 multiplied y. So 4 times y equals 12. To get the y by itself, you must get rid of the 4. And the 4 right now is being multiplied, like I said. by y, 4 times y. And to get rid of the 4, you must do, again, the inverse or opposite of what is already being done. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So in order to get rid of this 4 times y, I have to do the opposite of multiplication. I have to do the opposite of 4 times. And the opposite of 4 times is 4 divided by 4. And I need to do that to both sides. And I know anything divided by itself, 4 divided by 4, will cancel out to be 1. So this is 1y, and I'm going to tell you something, that 1y is actually the same exact thing as y. It's just like saying I have 1 pencil or a pencil. In math, we don't want to say 1y because we know that just y by itself is already 1. So 4 divided by 4 is 1y, which is just y. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. So in this case, y equals 3. Let's look at the last example, which could look kind of daunting at first, but I'll walk you through it, and if you're starting to catch on to the pattern, I think you can pick up on it pretty quickly. Example number 4 says negative z divided by 7 equals 3. Again, our goal is to get the variable, which in this case is z, by itself. That is always going to be our goal. And to get z, this should say z, not w, by itself, you must get rid of the negative 7. We got to get rid of this negative 7, so all we have is z by itself. The operation between z and negative 7 is, well, with this fraction bar here, we know that the operation is division. It is z divided by 7. And to get rid of this negative 7, we need to do the inverse or the opposite of what is already being done. The inverse of, or the opposite. So the inverse operation of division, or the opposite of division, is multiplication. So if I'm looking at this problem, I'm going to draw my line to separate, so I do it to both sides. I have negative 7 here. I'm going to multiply negative 7 to this side, and I'm going to multiply negative 7 to this side. Well, I know that negative 7 times negative 7 in the denominator will cancel each other out to be 1, which will give me 1z or just z. And 3 times negative 7, well, I know 3 times 7 is 21. And if I remember back from a week or two ago, I know that a positive times a negative is a negative. Because if you love to hate, you hate. So in this case, z would equal negative 21. So just remember, when you're trying to solve one-step equations, all you need to do is do the opposite and get the variable by itself. Good luck.